Hi, I'm Anna and welcome back to my channel, Building a Business. So I'm going to be sitting down in this video. It's going to be a little more relaxed than most of mine because I kind of have a rant slash trying to work through what I want to do with the property that I'm currently under contract on. So I'm just going to think through my thoughts. So basically, for those of you who have been watching my videos, you'll know that I'm currently under contract on my very first rental property, which is exciting, but I have been having a ton of issues with my lender, and as of today, which is September 4th, I have been under contract for just about 2 months. I went under contract on July 6th and signed with my lender on July 9th. So just about 2 months ago, and my original closing date was August 11th, which clearly we've missed that by almost a month as well. So anyways, before I start, I just want to say that I am purchasing this property through a turnkey company, and the turnkey company has been incredibly helpful, super responsive, super understanding. I have only good things to say about my process with them so far. It's really just my lender that has been causing me some issues. And all in all, these issues have caused me to kind of rethink whether or not I even want to go through with purchasing this property. And I'm on the fence about it for three main reasons. One, I know I could find a better property on my own if I don't go through a turnkey company. And so I went through the turnkey company for the hand-holding and the experience they have and just being able to really walk me through the process, which they have been. And now, because I've basically walked through the whole process, I feel like I could go find my own property and go through the purchasing process on my own now. Certainly, I would feel more confident if I were using a turnkey company, but my confidence has grown a lot in the past 2 months, and I do think I could do it on my own now. The second reason I'm reluctant to close the deal is that I will be putting away a ton of my hard-earned savings. Between the down payment, the closing cost, and any other fees, I will be spending approximately $45,000, which I have worked super aggressively over the past 2 years to save up that much. So while I understand that's how down payments work, you put a lot down, it also just makes me a little nervous to put that much money into one deal, especially given that it's my very first deal. And then the third reason I'm considering not closing is because of the lender. And honestly, that's the biggest reason. I have had so many issues with the lender. So the lender I'm using has gotten really good reviews from what I've seen online. And so I am confident that this is a one-off issue and not systemic amongst their company. But that being said, this is the experience I've had, and it has not been a good one, to say the least. So as I stated previously, I officially committed to using this lender on July 9th. I was upfront with them about my unusual employment situation, given that I'm self-employed and have not been working for 2 years. They reassured me that that was not a problem at all and that they could deal with it because I was in school before those 2 years. They originally agreed to the August 11th closing date, and then that date came and went without communication from them on what was happening. And so I was just expecting to hear from them and kept reaching out to them to see, is this happening? Are we doing something on August 11th? And no word, it was silent. It wasn't until the next day that I reached out to the seller, the turnkey company, and they let me know that the closing had been pushed back to August 19th. So I had to find out from the seller a day after my closing that it had been pushed back. I mean, obviously I knew it had been pushed back because I didn't sign anything on the 11th, but I wasn't given any information from my lender at all, despite calling them and leaving multiple voicemails and emails. Then my second closing date, August 19th, came and went. Then the next closing date, August 27th, came and went. And now my closing date is technically September 4th, but it is currently the evening of September 3rd, and I have not received any information from my lender. The seller told me that they thought I would be able to close on the 4th, but they told me that on Tuesday, and it's now Thursday, and I haven't heard anything from the lenders, so I am pretty darn sure I won't be closing tomorrow. Now, in the scheme of things, does it matter if I close tomorrow or next week? No, but my birthday is this weekend, and my goal was to purchase my first rental property before I turned 26, which is how old I'll be turning this weekend. And so if I don't close tomorrow, which it looks like I won't purchase the property while I'm still 25. And in the scheme of things, who cares? It's more that it was just frustrating to me that I thought I could easily hit this goal because my original closing date was August 11th, which in my mind gave me plenty of wiggle room, and that wiggle room has expired. So in addition to my issues with the lack of communication from the lender, I've also had problems with their timeliness. I have one specific example that I think kind of illustrates the point. So on August 9th, I sent in information that they wanted. It was a signed letter from my employer confirming that I work for them, how long I've been working for them, all of that information in addition to my year-to-date income. The letter was only a few sentences long because it's not that hard to convey that information in a few sentences. And I heard nothing back from them when I sent in that information. Then on this Tuesday, so September 1st, they said that that letter wasn't going to be good enough. And at the time when they requested this letter, they said, please send it in as soon as possible. It's urgent. We need to get this information. And so I pressured my employer to try to get it to me as soon as possible. And he did. He was super helpful. He sent it to me. He did it over the weekend, sent it in. And then they didn't look at it until September 1st and to get back to me to tell me it wasn't okay. So to me, it was just frustrating that I had to pressure my employer to work on the weekend to get this to me because the lender said it was really important that I get it to them right away. And then they don't bother to look at it or at least to respond to me until September 1st. And so I've gone over their lack of communication, their issues with timelines and getting things done in a reasonable amount of time. And then my last issue with them is the information they want feels completely inappropriate. And I understand that when you're getting a mortgage, you have to provide pretty much all of your financial information. And I went into this process knowing that and expecting that and being okay with that. What I wasn't expecting, and to be honest, I don't think is normal and I don't think is appropriate, is that they started asking for financial information of other people in my life. These people are not co-signing the loan. These people really have nothing to do with the loan, and yet they need that financial information. Why? I'm not totally sure, but they do. For instance, they asked me to provide proof that I don't own my mom's home. Now, just the concept of providing proof that you don't own something seems crazy to me. Like if someone came up to you and said, prove that you don't own your friend's car. You know, you can say you don't own it, but who has any documentation or other proof that they don't own it? Hopefully your friend has proof that they do own it, but having documentation that you don't own something seems weird to me. So anyways, I responded to them saying, I don't understand what that means. What type of proof do you want saying that I don't own it? And what they said they needed was the property tax, bills, and payments from my mother, proving that it all came from her and it's in her name. And so my mom was super understanding and gave those documents to me and I sent them in. But now looking back at it, I honestly regret doing that. Why should my mom have to give them personal financial information about herself so that I can get a loan? I would understand if they wanted her to write some letter saying I don't own the home or talk with her over the phone or some sort of confirmation, but for her to have to provide her personal financial information just seems inappropriate to me. And I haven't heard of other people having to do that. Now, why they even needed this proof that I don't own it in the first place is a little confusing to me. They said they saw some report that I own it. I don't know what that report is because I don't own it. I never have owned any portion of it. That's always been 100% hers. And so I've asked them, like, what is this report? Where did you find it? So that I can go talk with whoever or whatever organization created this report and get it fixed. But of course, they haven't responded to me about that. Similarly, the most recent documentation they've asked for is my employer's financial information showing his payments to me. Now, I already provided all of the payment stubs that he's given me, as well as the signed letter that he gave stating that I work for him and showing my year-to-date income. But apparently that's not enough. They need my employer's financial information. This is where I finally drew the line and said, I am not going to ask my employer to give me his financial information so that you can give me a mortgage. I basically said I won't do that. If that is a problem, like, oh well, I won't get the mortgage. I told them this on Tuesday, haven't heard back, so we will see. And now I understand that my employment situation is unusual and that COVID is making everything crazy. And so I'm willing to let a few things slide, but it's just kept piling up. And I'm just at the point where I'm just not sure if it's worth it anymore. And so anyways, sorry for this long rant. The point of me explaining the issues that I've had with my lender is to explain the reluctance that I have with continuing through on this process with them, because let's say they do approve me and I close on the property and own it. I will still be paying this mortgage lender monthly payments. And so if there should be anything that goes awry or any kind of issue comes up, I don't have a ton of faith that they'll be able to communicate with me well, or that I'll be able to contact them in any way if I have an important question to ask. So while I don't foresee any issues arising, but I also want to make sure that they would be able to potentially handle any issues that come up. And at this point, I'm not totally confident about that. So now that I've explained the 3 reasons why I'm considering getting out of this deal, I think it's also important to explain the 3 reasons that I am staying in it, at least for now. The first one, I feel really bad for the seller, my turnkey company. They've been so helpful, so supportive. Every week they send me a new document that I can sign saying we're pushing back the loan and everything else is staying the same. And they've just been so understanding. I'm sure they don't appreciate the fact that it's been almost a month since they expected to get the funds and have not gotten them yet. And despite the frustration that I'm sure they're feeling, they've been nothing but understanding and generous with me. The second reason is that I've already put in just about $4,000 into this deal between earnest money, getting an appraisal done, getting an inspection report, doing credit checks, all of that. And while I totally agree with the idea that there's no point in continuing with a bad deal just because you've already put money into it, I don't think I have a bad deal. I definitely don't have a slam dunk deal, but I am still excited about the property itself. And the third reason, and probably the biggest reason that I continue going on this path, is that I keep getting information that makes me think that we're just about closed. Whenever they need more documentation, the lender says something to the effect of, these are the last documents we need. And then of course, next week they say, just one more document. And then the next week it's, you're ready to close once you send in these 2 documents. So I keep getting pulled along into thinking that we're about to close, everything is pretty much final. And while I realize none of the above issues are justification for staying in the deal, I also don't think that my 3 reasons for getting out of the deal have quite gotten me to the point that I think that's the way to go. So over this weekend, I'll be doing a lot of thinking and hopefully trying to come up with some time frame that I can tell my lender, if you can't get it done by this date, I'm out. So thank you so much for watching me rant. I apologize for that, but I also think it's important for anyone else who's starting their journey to realize that it's not always going to be perfect. Things will go wrong. And as I'm trying to do right now, you have to figure out what you do about them. And that's, of course, the hard part. Thank you so much again for watching, and please like the video below and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week.